Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about Africa. So there's been a lot of news about Africa lately. It's been a lot going on with Africa. Africa has basically stepped into a new era as today's world shifts from US dominance to a more multipolar landscape where every big power wants in. Now, here's the thing I just found out recently, guys. I don't know if you guys knew this. If you did, please leave a comment in the section below. Is the actual size of Africa. I was never taught this in school. Our textbooks, even Google Maps, if you guys look at that, it actually shows a distorted view of Africa. The question is, why hasn't anyone corrected this? I think a lot of African leaders now are starting to make a big noise about this. So for scale, they want to show the actual size of the continent, for size. I'm going to go ahead and play a quick video for you guys so you guys get a quick a visual on this. I did not know any of this. So if you guys knew about it, please leave a comment in the section below. But I'm going to go ahead and play this quick video for you guys.
Big, I mean really. It might not seem that way on a map, but it's huge. It's over 14 times larger than it looks on most maps. This happens because the further away land is from the equator, the bigger it looks on a map. That's why Africa seems smaller than it actually is. In reality, Africa is massive. You could fit China, India, Mexico, the US, and Japan inside it. And there would still be plenty of space left. Just one country, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, is bigger than Norway, Sweden, and Finland combined. But it's not just the land that's big. Africa is home to 1.4 billion people. That's a lot of people, and that number is going to increase to 2.4 billion by 2050 and 4.3 billion by 2100. That's a whole bunch of people.
My mind was blown. So when I saw that, to see the actual size of Africa, but if you look at it on the map, it doesn't look that big, but that place is massive. You can fit basically the whole of the northern hemisphere into Africa. I'm talking about the US and Canada. It's unbelievable how big that country is. So a lot of people think that the reason why the map shows Africa that way, maybe psychological warfare. They want to show, Europe, former colonial country powers, France, Europe, the European continent as like this, rich and big, powerful countries. Meanwhile, Africa looks small, maybe marginalized, and maybe, look like people, they don't really matter. We don't have to listen to them and so on and so forth. So that's what some people are saying. So I don't know. Let me guys know what you think. Leave a comment in the section below. So but anyways, that was a quick side note. I just wanted to share that with you guys. I just learned this and I thought that was pretty interesting. So, but if you knew that already, more power to you. God bless. But right now, what is actually going on in Africa is not just about flags over embassies or anything like that. Africa is gaining economic and military leverage and using it to shape its own destiny. Sometimes in some of these countries for the first time since independence. Now, here's how the continent key industries and security pictures are being transformed by global competition. Now, as I am doing this video, there's going to be a country that is going to be mentioned quite often. So anytime there's any kind of development, any project, this one particular country, that country's name is going to keep coming up more often than not. So, but you guys stay tuned. You guys are going to find out exactly which country that is in a second. Basically, two countries or maybe a few of them, but one country in particular. And it's very interesting what is going on there. And a lot of people say it's exploitation and so on and so forth. But I'm curious to see what you guys think. But Western countries that once sets the rules for Africa's economic and security partnership. I mean, think about it. You have countries in Europe and America who shares no cultural. There's no cultural relevance with a lot of countries in Africa, but somehow we're going to tell them what to do and how to do it. Hey, if you don't like what you're doing, if you don't do what we say, we're going to use the IMF. We're going to put sanctions on you. We're going to tell you what to do. We're going to bully you. We're going to treat you like children. Well, that era is over. It's done. Right now, China, here we go. There's the first mention of that country I was telling you about. China, Russia, India, in the Gulf states, Turkey, okay? And a much more assertive right now. Africa, they're creating a new geopolitical game with shifting alliances and greater choice for local leaders. Now, Africa has some of the world's largest untapped reserves of lithium, cobalt, platinum, and rare earths. Remember, I did a video before about this, the whole war of rare earth in China and in the United States and so on and so forth. Africa has a whole bunch of those, okay? Now, China is so smart. China is being so strategic in here. China's laying down, you know, the groundwork, the pipe work, the pipelines, all right? So China is the biggest. Everyone has rare earth. It's not that rare. It's called rare earth, but it's everywhere. The thing with rare earth is the processing of it, and China holds the monopoly in that. And if Africa has it, if China can get their hands on them or foster partnership with these African countries who has a lot of rare earth, China is basically trying to corner the market, corner the globe. But not only that they have it themselves, but also partner with countries that also has rare earth. And those countries has to deal with China. So anywhere you're gonna get rare earth, China is in the mix. China's in the conversation. And I've already told you guys exactly what rare earth and what we need it for. This microphone that I'm speaking in, your electronic devices, you know, you want electric vehicles, rare earth. So I did a whole video on that. I would recommend you guys check it out. But China so far is investing $170 billion over 53 African countries. They funded infrastructure, mining projects, just to unlock some of these resources. And then when those resources are unlocked, those countries who they have relationships with, China. All right, so this is very smart. China is being very strategic about this. So while European countries in the West treated Africans like children and tell them what to do, China's going there and say, listen, guys, let's make some deals. Now, some people may say China's abusing Africa and doing all that stuff. So it's up to you guys for interpretation. But this time, what Africa is actually doing, countries like Congo and Zambia are pushing for refining and battery manufacturing on their own soil, keeping more value local. Africa is shifting from the era of just, taking their resources and their goods and shipping it overseas to Europe and everybody else. They're like, nah, you know what, man? We're going to keep some of that stuff here. All right? Employ our people, help our economy. No more sending raw material and so on and so forth overseas. All right? So there and countries, gas and oil rich countries, China's investing in them. The Gulf states are investing in them, and they're helping them to process their own petroleum, and not just ship stuff abroad. Africa is also a global leader in cocoa, rubber, cashews, and coffee. I think Ghana makes a lot of those things. And the president of Ghana a couple of years ago, and he went to Switzerland. Everyone knows Swiss chocolate. Oh my God, Swiss makes the best chocolate and so on and so forth. The Ghana president goes, hey man, yeah, sure, you guys make, you guys, did great work in propaganda and telling the world that you guys make the best chocolate. But those beans and those chocolates, they came from us. That's ours. We're no longer going to ship them to you. We're no longer going to ship you raw cocoa so you guys can make your chocolate. We're going to make it here. You want to make chocolate? We're going to process our own cocoa. You want to make chocolates? You want to do all that stuff? You can make it in our country. You can employ our people, but we're not going to just send you raw cocoa and you guys can, exploit our country and we get none of the benefits. Those days are over. You're done, buddy. Go sit down. We're not doing that anymore. And that's amazing. I love to see that. And not just Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, which is the Ivory Coast. Now they just like, hey man, we want you guys to process a lot of these things locally, and that's what we want. Things like chocolate, cashew snacks. A lot of these things now are being made in Africa, and then African countries are exporting those things abroad. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement is pivotal, creating a $3.4 trillion continental market of 1.4 billion people by dropping trade barriers. So now countries can trade among each other, without tariffs and so on and so forth. So which is going to be great and very beneficial for that continent. And this helped foster industries. If I can manufacture something in one country in Africa and, there's no border tariffs, I can produce my product to scale and move things around, to other countries. I mean, think of food, textile, cars, solar panels. By making it easier for manufacturers to, make things, to make, produce these things at scale and then shipping them to other African countries. Africa leads the world in mobile money. Kenya M-Pesa and Nigeria's OPay let millions pay, save, and do business via a phone. The digital infrastructure is connecting farmers, traders, and young entrepreneurs, cutting out banks and opening new markets. I mean, this is huge, all right? And is causing like high-tech hubs in Nairobi, Lago, and Cape Town are attracting record investment. More and more people and more investors and business people they want more of Africa. And this is insane. Africa is on its way, guys. And also too, like African countries are pushing hard also in renewable energy. That's also Africa is involved in that as well. You got countries like Egypt, Morocco, South Africa, and Algeria are building solar panels and wind turbine factories supported by, here we go, our friends, the Chinese. Here they go again. The Chinese, Europeans are trying to get in on this, and local investors. These projects aim to power cities and export green energy equipment to other regions, to other regions of Africa. So from when I grew up, I remember the thing about Africa is that the messaging about Africa is that it's dangerous, it's poor, starving kids with flies on their face and so on and so forth. And that's changing. All right. So from Western dominance, and also too, so the messaging was also, hey, listen, these guys are poor, they don't have a lot going on, so we need to put boots on the ground. We need to open bases in Africa to help them, because they're Africans, they don't know what they're doing. We have to help them. Yeah, we got to open bases in their country. Well, from Western dominance to right now is a multipolar rivalry. Instead of just trading with governments, all right, other players are stepping in. So, for example, let's say a country like Burkina Faso, where France has been very involved in those countries, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, those three Sahel regions. France was there with the military bases fighting insurgent for a very long time, over 60, 70, 80 years. Meanwhile, France was supposed to be fighting insurgents and terrorism, but meanwhile, terrorism were getting bigger. They were taking more territories, and what the hell is going on? These guys were getting. I mean, some people speculate that France was, possibly funding these guys and allow them to take territories to justify them having a military base over there. But recently, a couple of years ago, they kicked France out. They're like, France, get the hell out of here, man. We don't need you anymore. See you later. Goodbye. Don't forget to write. Send a postcard, right? And now, who's stepping in to fill in that gap, to fill in that void? Russia. So instead of trading with these governments, Russia arms, train, and often protect African leaders through his private military forces. They used to be called the Wagner Group, which leader was Prigozhin. Now is called the African Corps. In countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and the Central African Republic, Russians trade security services for direct access to mine and resources. Now you might think of Russia's exploiting them, yet there is an element of that that is happening. But also what is also happening, countries like Burkina Faso and these regions that I mentioned, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, these countries are vast. There's a lot of desert over there. And so for the first time in what France could not do in 70, 80 years, these countries are have accomplished it in a few years. All right, they've taken back villages and part of the country that they never had access to because of these partnerships with other countries like China and Russia, militarily and training and so on and so forth. So these countries, after kicking out France, they're accomplishing what France said they couldn't do in almost 80 years. These people are doing it in a few years. So I don't know. You tell me what you think about that. All right. Not only just that, also too, but China. China is also extending its military influence on the continent quietly, starting with their Djibouti naval base, its first overseas base. Okay, which now hosts several thousand Chinese soldiers. China often bundles security deals with big projects like railways and ports. So there's talk of new Chinese bases on both African coasts. So they want to put, Djibouti is on the east coast of Africa. So they want to go, I guess, maybe from Djibouti, and also they want to go to the Cote d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast. So China is really making a play for Africa, guys. And China saw the writing on the wall. They're like, hey, man, I'm going to pivot this way while we're over here making, fighting Ukraine and Afghanistan, Pakistan, destroying the place. China's like, hey, man, while these guys are so distracted doing this nonsense, man, we're going to make deals in Africa. We're going to set the groundwork. All right. We're going to build, and we're going to form partnerships. And it's paying off. Not every investment China has made in Africa has paid off, but a lot of it has paid off or is paying off. So the U.S. and France, out of here. See you later. Get your shit. Pack your bags. We don't need you anymore. Get out of the country. And so after that, so what happened is when France got kicked out of those countries, the Sahel regions, they were upset, of course. So, we're gonna put sanctions on you. They threatened military. They did all that stuff, pouting, all that stuff. They can't do anything. But that hasn't worked. So those countries now have united and have come together in military alliance, economy, and so on and so forth. They formed their own banks, and there's a lot going on over there in those countries. And guess what's happening now? Europeans now focus on a more diplomatic and economic partnership. Hey, guys, we're sorry. Come on. Can you guys take us back? We didn't mean it. We were treating like children. We said we were angry. Come on. Can we talk about it? Because they're hurting. I'm going to do a separate video on this. Germany's in a recession. France is going to become a disaster. They need to get access to these resources. So now they're coming back. They're begging to come back to deal with Africans now on a equal footing or more diplomatic way. And so, but these African countries like, listen, we're seeking partnerships, security partnerships with China and Russia, with Chinese and all these suitors are bidding. They're falling over themselves for favors in Africa. All right. So African leaders now can sit back and, they can start demanding stuff, like lower loan rates, tech transfers, or investments in manufacturing. So far, the country that's been investing a lot in Africa has been China. Countries like Egypt and Ethiopia have joined BRICS. And Nigeria is aiming for membership to boost its global finance and trade rules. So that's the other play, too. Like BRICS is being so instrumental in this whole thing. And I think that's why, Trump hate them, and he wants to get rid of them, and he's threatening countries who want to participate in BRICS and so on, and his whole fight with India it's a mess. But because of things like this, so not only BRICS now are coming together, not as an economic bloc, but it looks like they are also, a military one as well. So here's the other thing about Africa. So Africa is the youngest continent, and their population is booming with over 1.5 billion people in 2024, and a quarter of the workforce will be African by 2050. I mean, you look at other countries like the United States and Europe, a lot of countries, actually the population is declining. Even China is experiencing population decline. Japan, forget it. South Korea, see you later. So a lot of the countries are not producing, they're not having kids. Africa is just pumping people, man. It's just so young. I think South Sudan has is the world's youngest population. And that's going to pay huge dividends moving forward. So what does that mean? So if you have such a young population, such a young continent, you have more consumers, more workers, more innovators. I mean, it's insane. So, and a lot of these countries also, too, they have notable sectors that's also developing, and that's also, catching the eyes of, Europe and China, and they have all the natural minerals necessary for like the green technology and so on and all that stuff that is happening. I'm gonna go ahead and put up this map on the screen for you guys real quick. I just want to show you some of you know, like these countries and some of the resources that they possess. So if you go ahead and look at some of this stuff, like, you know, mining sector, like Zambia, Ghana, you know, all these countries, oil. I mean, if you guys can read that list, it's right there on your screen. A lot of these African countries are rich in all these minerals and all these resources, like, you know, like, so what agriculture, you know, Ghana, Kenya, Ethiopia, local processing chocolate, coffee, and rubber. And that's a big deal. Africa's like, listen, man, you guys don't get this. You guys not gonna get our resources anymore. Those days are over. Those days are numbered. We're not doing that. We're gonna make them here. We're gonna hire our people. We're gonna increase our employment numbers, and we're gonna become a power player on a global stage. And Russia and China is helping. The BRICS nations are coming together, and they're really challenging the U.S. and the Western-led coalition. And that's scaring a lot of people. A lot of people are not happy with that. So at the end of it is that Africa currently right now is more empowered and influential more than ever. This multipolar dynamics, it's playing, you know, it's competing suitors off of one another, which is going to be great, and it's going to be beneficial for Africa, but not for just resources. You don't come here and get our resources anymore, but you're gonna share tech, security, and you're gonna invest in industry. Okay, so we're not gonna allow you to destabilize our country. I think Burkina Faso, France tried to kill him, I think like 5-6 times, and now Russia stepped in and said, okay, now we're gonna provide security for him and make sure his security, intelligence, and we're gonna provide military equipment to make sure he survives, and you know, and you guys don't murder this guy and send the continent into chaos. Okay, now both for the first time in a generation, the world is coming to Africa with offers, not to tell them what to do, not to treat them like children, not to come there and rape and pillage and take resources from them. But now they're like, hey man, we have to deal with these people, and we have to start maybe when, you know, maybe, and eventually they're gonna start to see them as equals. And now Africans are deciding what's best for themselves and not having countries lecture them. So that is going to be it for today. That's going to be all for today, guys. Let me know what you think about this video. Please like, share, and leave a comment in the section down below. If you guys did know about this map with the Africa thing, please you know, leave a comment in the section. Let me know what you think. But I thought it was very fascinating. But anyway, I will see you guys soon.